again signed up to talk about, it's listed on here as bathrooms or bathroom policy. And I know there are opinions there, and you do voice them, but I just want to make it very clear that our district does not have as such a bathroom policy. The policy that you're responding to is one that added words, a policy that we've had for years, and we just added words for clarification in regards to the list of types of people. We're trying to emphasize we do not discriminate against anyone, and that we expect respectful behavior for everyone and acceptance in the ranks of our employment and in our classrooms, behavior by students, behavior by teachers, to say that it should all be respected and no one should be discriminated against as we employ people and as we behave on our campuses. Again, all our facilities are as they are and as they have been. Our first speaker is Lester Long. Last week, I see familiar faces from last week. We gave everybody 1 minute because there were so many people. If people will, they'll have as much as 3 minutes today. But we also do ask you to have mercy if you don't have to use up your 3 minutes. Don't. And there is a clock we'll have. And when that buzzer goes off, even if you're in the middle of something very important to say, we sure appreciate it if you just stop when the buzzer goes off so that we don't go over time. Thank you very much. Mr. Long?
So, I have 3 minutes, correct?
You do.
Okay. First off, my voice, though, God forgive me, it's stuff in the air. As far as the bathroom issue, I have a little son and a little girl, and I don't want nothing forced upon us, and I'm a man of faith, deep faith, as an evangelical Christian, and I believe that if you're going to have boys and a girl thing, bathroom, they want to have the other issue, they have a separate place for that individual. As far as my faith, where I stand, it's very simple and cut, drive it straight to the point. It says in 1 Corinthians 6:18, flee from sexual immorality. All other sins a person commits and are outside the body, but whoever sins sexually sins against their own body. Do you know that your bodies are the temple of the Holy Spirit, who is in you, whom you have received from God? You are not your own. You are bought with a price, a high price. Therefore, honor God with your bodies. And the way I see it, on the day of judgment, and everybody's going to face it, the choices we make today will open the doors for good or evil, either a demonic force or good. Thank you.
Next we have Elizabeth Isaac.
Bring it down. I just want to go ahead and thank everyone for being here, and I do give respect where due, where respect is due, and I just want to respect everyone here, their decisions. Right now, what I'm contending for is for the children and for the love of children, and to respect the children where they're at, so that they can make decisions on their own. And I'm a little nervous, so I just want to ask the Lord just to calm me down, because I am also, I believe in God, I believe in faith. But because of what happened to me as I was a child, I was 4 years old, and it was pressed upon me by both genders. Because of that, I had no choice. So I'm speaking for the children, not as an adult, but I'm speaking for the children, because I love children. My heart is for the children. I love them deeply. I want them to have a choice on what they see, what they encounter. Last week I was outside, I was praying for everyone here, and I still pray for everyone here because I honor everyone. And that's the most important thing, is to walk in honor. You know, if we don't give our children a choice, you know, what are we giving them? What type of lifestyle are we giving them? Because of what happened to me as I was a child, I grew up confused. I was rebellious. I had different types of relationships, you know, with both genders because I didn't know who I was. It confused me because of what was imposed to me. You know, and this was done not only by adults, but also other children, because that's what happened to them. So I'm speaking just purely out of love, the love of Christ that is in me, for the children, for the love to honor them, so that they can be respected on what they see, what they feel, and what is being done to them. My children were brought up here in San Antonio Independent School District, and I still live in this district. You know, and I've seen a lot of things, and I've seen the wind blow. But this is one thing that I don't want to see grow in any other department or in any other district. That's why I would like for it to change, the wording change. Let it fall the way it should, the way God wanted to. Respecting and honoring children so that they can grow up solid, not confused, being confident in who they are. And that's all I have to say. Thank you and God bless you.
Thank you, Ms. Dust. Catherine Aranda.
Good evening, President Raydell, board members, and superintendent. I'm here on behalf of family members who are not able to attend to voice concerns on the non-discrimination policy. I have a niece which attends Kelly Elementary as a pre-kinder in San Antonio Independent School District, whose parents were not notified nor did not receive any communication of such decision of adding such words to the policy. We understand this is not a bathroom policy, per your understanding, but it definitely has opened the door for such violations of privacy and possible abuse to occur to our children. I'm here to ask not to just reverse the policy, but to at least involve and communicate properly to the parents and guardians of those who have children attending SAISD school, and allowing them to make a decision instead of allowing only 300 signatures to voice the opinions of thousands in SAISD. Thank you.
Thank you. Gloria Rivas. And after Gloria is Constance Michael, and then Elizabeth Gonzalez. And if y'all would be ready or maybe work your way toward the podium, that would help us on time.
Good evening, everybody. Like most people here, all of us, I'm sure, we love all kids, regardless. But Black Lives Matter, straight lives matter, all lives matter. So I'd like to know what significant landslide occurrence came about that justifies the additional language that you added to the school board policies. What justified it? Did anybody answer that? To us here? What was so significant that justified you doing that without advising your constituents? Even Congress has town hall meetings to discuss issues and hear their input. And out of that input, they base their decisions as to the laws. Why weren't we given the same rights here with you? Why do you have to decide for us what should be law and what shouldn't be law? Historically, as you know, protecting classes historically are based on inherent values. Have you changed history without first advising us or asking our opinion? Let's all discuss it and take a vote, as it should be. We live in America, not in Cuba. I hope you were not hoping to insult our intelligence. And I hope you were not hoping that we would not stand up for our rights, because you are dead wrong. We have learned the hard way that we need to stand up for our rights. We may not have a college education, but we do have intelligence, common sense. protect my children's right, my children's freedom of religion, and then take them into one of these bathrooms if that occurs, and supposedly it could very possibly occur. How can I protect my children's freedom of religion and then take them into one of these restrooms where both boys and girls are allowed at the same time? How can I protect their freedom of religion and then take them in there and tell them to disregard what they see? And what the boys are doing is called masturbating. How can I protect their rights of freedom of religion according to the Constitution? You tell me that. That's hypocritical. And that's the law. We have freedom of religion. And as far as what harm can come to the children and the school staff in these restrooms, are you telling me that the prisons don't have any prisoners that are guilty of these types of crimes? Is that what you're telling me? That's not possible? That's not logical? It hasn't happened? It's not going to happen? Are you telling me that there are no prisoners in jail that have committed these types of crimes in restrooms? Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you. Congressman? And is Elizabeth Gonzalez here? Okay, you can be ready. Thank you.
Good evening, President Radell, board members, and Superintendent Martinez. I've been a teacher in the Rio Grande Valley for several years and have taught at different levels, at high school, middle school, and elementary school levels. And although it's a different district, the kids down there, the teens and the preteens are the same. I mean, they all have raging hormones. And some of the things that I was made aware of in the district down there, I'm sure are going on here. What I became aware of was at the high school level, there was a guy and girl having sex in the elevator by the janitor. The middle school level, a girl and a guy would cut class, go into the girls' bathroom and perform oral sex. In the elementary school level, 3 third graders would go to the park across the street and perform oral sex on each other. Now, with the non-discrimination policy being used to apply accommodations, consenting and non-consenting boys and girls will take advantage of this once the doors are opened. But by implementing this policy, you have opened the doors. Thank you.
Elizabeth Gonzalez.
Good evening, President Radell, members of the board, superintendent. Thank you for your time. My name is Elizabeth Gonzalez. I have 3 children, daughters, ages 8, 10, and 17. My concern, I'm speaking on behalf of my family, our beliefs, yes, are in play. I understand the non-discrimination policy is not a bathroom policy. I understand that you have the obligation to protect the rights of all students, not just gender identity, race, color, and religion. My request to you this evening is that you would reverse the policy, bring it back to the table, and give us an opportunity to meet each other where we're at. I cannot impose my beliefs and my faith on you or any other student in this district or any other district. Same thing, gender identity cannot be imposed on me and my household and my family, and I don't expect that to happen. What I am asking is for you to give us the opportunity to come together. We talk about love. I'm going to share this, God's love, God's compassion. It's not about hatred. This is about coming to a mediation room together and saying, look, this is what this group believes, this is what we believe. How can we work together as a team? Right, we're talking about leadership, being united. The God that I serve, this is what he does. He doesn't hate those. He doesn't force those to believe in him. But he does say that we have to treat each other with respect, with love, and with compassion. And I respect the gender identity, sexual orientation, gender expression, but I also expect that they would respect my beliefs and my rights as well. So my request this evening is that you would consider reversing that policy, bringing it back to the table, and for us to come back together as a community here in San Antonio, Texas, raising our children and giving them a safe environment to grow with values that are fair to everyone. Thank you for your time. God bless you.
Thank you. This is my, I want to say Knopfler. I'm sorry if I'm not reading it right.
Knuffy.
And next will be Dr. Steve Newton.
She has some pass-outs for you. Board, thank you for your time. My name is Mike Knuffy. I'm with the San Antonio Family Association right here in San Antonio. And the purpose of the San Antonio Family Association is to protect, defend, and promote the family. Notice the protection and the defense. We are advocates for the family. And what we are here today is to ask for you to reverse or rescind your non-discrimination policy for reasons other people have already expressed very eloquently. This action violates, I don't know if you looked at this, but this action actually violates your core values of safety and health for all students. It also violates, depending on how you look at it, the parental trust. And I've heard some mothers come up here and say, you have violated our trust. So I guess the question I have is, how was this done? What process took place? Did it go through the SHAC, which is the Student Health Advisory Committee, as it relates to the students? Because my understanding is anything related to health needs to go through there. And if not, why did it go through the SHAC review? Which has, on purpose, the state of Texas says X amount of people need to be parents in the SHAC. So they would get their input, some of the people who already spoke, would get their input from the Student Health Advisory Committee. So why didn't it go through that if it didn't? The school district's philosophy currently on, if you think about this, it's risk avoidance when it comes to alcohol, drugs, bullying, smoking, risk avoidance, zero tolerance, except when it comes to sexual things. You see, then what we're going to do, and it's not just the San Antonio, by the way, it's many school districts, in fact, most school districts. Then what we're going to do is we're going to go through risk reduction. You see, because we know they're going to have sex anyway, so let's just make it safe for them. So is that maybe what brought this about, is the sex reduction and not the sex, or the risk reduction, not the risk avoidance? What I've handed out there is a couple of articles. The first is an article that just came out, if you haven't seen it, in the Express News, talking about all of the TEA investigation of improper students. You see, we have students having sex with students, but we also have teachers having inappropriate relations with students. And there's a number of reasons why this has taken place. But the concerning piece is not what it is, but it has risen from 2010 at 141 in the state of Texas to 302 today.
Thank you. Dr. Steve Newton.
Honorable board members, President Martinez, my name is Steve Newton. I'm pastor of Founders Church here in San Antonio. I have a little different perspective. What I'm concerned about as a pastor, I'm concerned about religious liberty. The way in which this policy has been written clearly discriminates against many Christian families, against students that will be attending the schools. And many of these students believe, like I do, that marriage is between one man and one woman. God made man and God made woman. And I have a question for this board. Are you ready to defend the children that attend your schools that this policy has discriminated against? Because I see a lot of lawsuits coming down the line. Perhaps the school can also offer some kind of counseling class for those who are confused about their gender, rather than pursue this policy. As a pastor, also, I believe in the importance of dealing in truth. And I believe that this policy was presented to the public not truthfully. I just heard about it this week, and many of my pastor friends have never even heard about it. And when I shared with them about the meeting tonight, they had no way of getting here. They hadn't heard about it. So whatever is hidden in darkness eventually is going to be exposed in the light. And I believe it to be the best interest of this board to present this policy in an open and truthful way to the public. Let the citizens of San Antonio decide after hearing the facts. To let a person with just a few signatures, and not even all from the United States of America, some of them were from Canada and other countries, and to let a person like that, with just a few signatures, not from America, to override thousands of students, parents, and taxpayers, I do not think is in the best interest of the board. And I ask you to think about it and to rescind this policy and let the citizens of San Antonio make a decision. Thank you.
Retract. It's T-R or tract, it looks like T-R-E or A-N-T-U. All right, I'll go on to Janice Flowers. And after Janice will be Charles Flowers.
Good evening, board members. My name is Janice Flowers. I'm a pastor's wife, business owner. As a pastor and leader and concerned citizens, we're finding out that the parents needed advocates. They need people to stand on their behalf because parents are working. And so we have some questions concerning the board's decision. So on behalf of the parents and taxpayers of this district, we have questions. First question, why are the board meeting times not conducive for parent involvement? A lot of parents are working this time of day and they are not able to get off work to attend these meetings. And so for the meetings to be taking place at this time really is not conducive for them to be involved. And so based off the SA Current news article, we have some questions. Why was a policy heard on a Friday, voted for, and implemented on the following Monday? That seems a little quick. Why was a 300 signature student petition used to implement a policy that so adversely impacts over 53,000 students? And was there a parent letter that was sent out to parents concerning the policy change? Why weren't parents and taxpayers informed about the gender policy change, which is the same gender policy that Target implemented in lost customer banking? These policies drastically impact our children, and the answers to these questions is really, board members, it's time for a change. It really is. It's time for a change. Parents should be involved. This shouldn't be a decision that the board makes unanimously without parent involvement. And so we're asking that this policy be rescinded. It needs to be rescinded. Parents' voices need to be heard on this issue. Thank you.
Very good.
Good evening. As you can tell, I'm married up. I'm going to address real quickly the issue, President Rattle and the Superintendent of the Board. Thank you. It's not the first time I've had to address this issue. I'm aware that in Dripping Springs and in Fort Worth, similar policies have been put forth. And because they have been met with such opposition, in Fort Worth, for example, they had to rescind a large portion of what they set out on these policies because they so offended the structure of a family. And yet here in SAISD, the way you publish that policy, the way you publish that notification was not in a way that a parent looking at that item on the consent agenda. The consent agenda is different from others because it is figured that there is already enough votes and support on the board to quickly pass those things. But when they have been met with such difference in other communities, why would you put it on the consent agenda and try to pass it quickly in SAISD without parent notification? The large part is about parent notification, and I think that when you sit down with the parents in SAISD, that you will find that they have a better rap in terms of comprehension on this issue than you might think. And just the way the policy is written gives opportunity. While it is not a bathroom policy per se, it did work out in dripping springs for a young boy who thought he was a young girl, and they had complied with his wishes early on and gave him a private bathroom. But his mother insisted that because he's a girl, he should be treated like a girl in school, and that way go to girls' facilities. So while it is not on face a bathroom policy, it certainly, as was said, opens a door for things like that to begin to happen. And you're dealing with a population, again, of nearly, statistically, about 6,700 to 7,000 young women in SAISD who have been sexually violated. And if someone walks into that bathroom, into that facility, whether he means that young lady harm or not, his very opposite sex presence in the bathroom could re-traumatize this young woman. And you're concerned not only about gender identity. By the way, just let me quickly rush on to say that both gender identity and gender dysphoria has been cataloged as a mental condition. I'm sure you're aware that it is cataloged in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of the American Psychiatric Association as a mental condition. So a mental condition does not need to be given discriminatory protections. There is some things that need to happen with it, do need to be addressed, but not with a discriminatory policy. For these reasons and many like them, the parents of SAISD would ask you to rescind the policy, and let's talk about it.
Thank you. Brian is Tiffany O'Neill, and finally Sonia Harris. So if you would please be ready.
Hello, thank you for your time. Respected Patty Rodell, President, Arthur E. Valdez, Vice President, Deborah Guerrero, Secretary, those of you that are here. Y'all carry an authority in the San Antonio Independent School District. Each and every one of you. Y'all know that. And I know that it's so much easier to follow suit with what we see going on in other school districts, but we're not other school districts. We are San Antonio Independent School District. And one of the things that I can just tell you right now is that in your hearts of every concern that has been made known to you, I know that each of you know that this is something that you need to go back and look at. It's not a tyranny, and I know that y'all don't want to be looked at as people who are just making decisions and the heck with the parents and everybody else. I ask that y'all would please consider what y'all heard today. Consider looking at the facts. God is love for all. Straight, bisexual, homosexual, God loves everybody. This is not a hate thing. This is not a pointing the finger thing. This is a, hey, we weren't informed. Can we please join with you? Can we connect with you so we can have a choice to speak and a choice to vote as well? But San Antonio Independent School District has always been strong. But when things like this happen, it shows that our system is weakening. And you today have the opportunity to go back and look at this thing and to do the right thing. Let the parents vote. However it's done, y'all are the board, but y'all carry an authority. And I believe that if you make the right decision, it's not only going to be a blessing for those here today, but it's going to show those watching San Antonio ISD today that you can go back and look at things whenever you hear the hearts of the people whose children that y'all are protecting and overseeing as the board members of the San Antonio Independent School District. I humbly ask that you would rescind the policy, the wording, and give everyone an opportunity to be here the next time you open it up to vote. Thank you.
Good evening. It's good to be here again. I'm Tiffany O'Neill with Teach for America. Good evening, President Rado, trustees, and Superintendent Martinez. I just wanted to give you a little update about all of the great things that are happening with our core members and alumni in the community of SAISD. Saturday, we had our first professional development session of the year for our core members. And amongst that professional development were two notable additions. One that we added was for our alumni. Alumni school leaders joined us. And amongst them were David Nungaray and Nicole Powell. David is the assistant principal at the Advanced Learning Academy, where my daughter is a 6th grader. I'm a proud parent of a child at that school. And Nicole Powell spent the year with him at the school last year and is now at Page Middle School as an assistant principal. It's great to see that continuation happening, and so we offered specific professional development for our alumni. We also hosted a community barbecue where we invited families and students from all different parts of SAISD within feeder patterns to share the stories of the assets of their community, their school, what was going right, and what things they thought should change or be better with our core members and our staff, which was a very exciting moment where our core members could hear from the actual students that they serve in a different environment. So that was fantastic. Also this week, we had a really great session. Thank you to our HR department, and with thank you to Joe Rose Pruitt with our consulting teachers who are mentors to first-year teachers. We had them out at our Teach for America offices for lunch. They collaborated with our professional development coaches, and it was a great place for us to come together. And finally, I just wanted to say a thank you from Teach for America to the board on behalf of the resolution that you passed at the last board meeting that protects undocumented students. We thank you very much for that resolution. And I'm excited to be here with you, and I'll see you next month. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Someone else?
I have numerous cousins, including my brother, who graduated from Burbank High School. My husband graduated from Jefferson High School, and my brother-in-law just received an award from the San Antonio Independent School District Athletic Department for his athletic abilities. So I'm very familiar with the school district. It has in the past been a district that has focused on education and who has brought up champions in the athletic department. I am a former Providence High School graduate and Texas State University graduate. My question is to Patty Rydell. How can you, as a former teacher at Providence High School and other Catholic schools, approve transgender using school bathrooms when you know that scientifically there are only two sexes? Also, the Catholic Church does not approve of transgender individuals. How can you in good conscience approve such travesty on these students? I ask that you reverse your policy and allow parents to voice their opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. This concludes our citizens to be heard. We're now going to go on to our presentations.